Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm assisted by Edward today from Now Yoga. If you've taken class with us at Now Yoga, you might have heard us phrase the instruction to come into Warrior One from Downward Facing Dog, something along the lines of turn your left heel down to the floor, step your right foot forward, inhale to Warrior One. And you might have wondered why we were phrasing the instruction that way in that particular order, bringing the back heel down before stepping the foot forward. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about why we do it that way. We feel that this sets up a better foundation to come into Warrior One, a better length for the stance than if you step the foot forward and then bring the heel down afterward. So in Warrior One, the back heel, Edward's left heel, needs to be down on the floor, and then the toes need to be pointing forward on an angle in order for the foot to be grounded. This angling of the toes forward allows Edward to wrap the left side of his chest around and forward so that he can face towards the front of the mat. You might notice that I didn't say so that Edward can square his hips towards the front of the mat. In fact, his hips are not actually square to the front of the mat. His left hip is a little bit behind his right hip. And that's fine. In fact, if he were to try to square his hips, what we would see is that he would wind up creating some kind of a torque in his knee, or his back heel would lift up. So his hips don't need to be square towards the front of the mat, but nevertheless, we want to be basically facing forward. So the chest is facing forward in this pose. And this angle of the back toes allows that to happen. On the other hand, if we were to try to come into Warrior One from Downward Facing Dog by stepping the right foot forward first, so pause here for a second, we can see now that Edward has a slightly longer stance than he had before, and if he were to keep his left heels down and try to bring the heel down to the ground, he wouldn't have the calf flexibility to enable him to bring that heel down to the ground with the toes pointing forward. His toes would be facing out to the side. And if he were to try to come up into Warrior One with his toes facing out towards the side, you can see he can no longer face towards the front of the mat. And if you were to try to force that, he'd wind up creating even more of a twisting force in that back knee. So not good. So instead, if Edward grounds his left heel first, and then steps his right foot forward, that enforces a little bit of a shorter stance that sets him up to have a good foundation for Warrior One so that his left heel can be grounded, his toes can be angled forward enough to face his chest forward, and at the same time he's able to do that without putting any kind of torque on his knee or stress on his hip. Thanks, Edward, and thanks for watching.